How do I know if I have a good book idea? My name is Athena Shack, and I'm also known as the Publishing Boss. And I want to answer this question. This is a question that I get during coaching calls, during our open house recently. And people begin to wonder, is my book good enough? Is my idea good enough for a book? Right? And this is a valid question. Keyword valid. Because you need to validate that idea. Okay. You need to validate your idea to see if it will make a good published book. All right. Published book. All ideas, and some will be can be very great ideas, may not necessarily translate into a good published book. And if it's going to be published, that means that there are an investment that takes place, right? Time, resources, writing, money to get it into the marketplace. So before you invest in that time, before you invest in those resources, you want to make sure that you have a great book idea. Okay. And a great book idea should be validated. It should be validated. All right. So here are three things. I'm only going to share one today, but there are three things that a book must be, all right, to be considered a good book idea. And that first thing is marketability. Is the idea that you have, is it marketable? Okay. Can your idea be translated into the marketplace? Is there an audience, okay, ready to buy? Okay. Is there an audience ready to buy? Who are your people that are interested in this topic? Okay, marketability is very an important factor in determining if it's a good book idea. Okay, one of the things that I do anytime I have a discovery call and I'm talking with people who want to write a book and who has this great idea and who have started writing a book and sometimes even finished. All right, the one question that I always ask is, what does your heart want to do with this book? Okay. And when I ask this open ended question, it allows me to hear their whole vision, right? To hear their whole ideas and why they're writing this book and where they see themselves with this book, right? I don't even have to ask any additional questions, right? Sometimes you just need to let people talk, right? And so when I let people talk and I let them pour out their heart about what they want to do with this book, I should be able to see vision. Okay. I should be able to see and determine if this book is marketable. So as I'm listening, I am determining and waiting to see if this is a marketable book idea. Because all great ideas is just not marketable. All right. Or sometimes the idea that a person may have, they may not know how to translate that into the marketplace, especially sometimes after I've gotten a book that's finished. And I wonder who's going to read this. I, I wonder what categories can this book be placed in. All right. If you don't do your homework in determining who you're writing your book for, all right, who is your ready to buy audience, that book content can be all over the place, right? There has to be a ready to buy audience for that book. That makes it marketable. If I can't figure out which category, which keywords we can use so this book can be discoverable, that's a problem. Then there's a problem often with that idea or how it is being articulated because the author hasn't done the work in articulating well what that book, how that book translates into the marketplace, who the book is written for, and how it will help that person, how it will change someone's life, how it will entertain, how it will teach someone, right? That's what books do: entertain, they instruct, all of those things, right? So if you cannot articulate that well to someone who is interested in helping you with bringing your vision to fruition, that's a red flag for me. Okay, so you need to have a good book idea that works in the marketplace, that there is an audience that are willing to purchase your book. Keyword purchase. Okay, is there a ready to buy audience? You can have a great idea and it may not necessarily translate into a published book. And why do I say that? Because some ideas just cannot be fleshed out enough, or you may not have fleshed out an idea enough where people are willing to pay to read more about it. All right, you may want to tell your story, but if you have not figured a way to tell your story, which makes it marketable, all right, where are willing to pay money to purchase that book, it's not a marketable idea. Okay, and it all has to make sense. All right, when we talk about marketability, we're also talking about value. All right. So you can't have this great idea. And listen, it could be rocket science. It could be something that's so unique, so, forward thinking that people in a particular sub segment of a market needs to know about. And you only wrote 30 pages and you want to charge $150 for. That's not great marketability in most genres. Okay. Rocket science, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Right. That's not great marketability. All right. It has to make sense. Are there other people paying for books in that genre for that price? Okay. That's how you determine if it's marketable. You just can't pick prices out of thin air. It has to make sense. Page count, format, hardcover, paperback, all of these things, right? You just can't decide you're just going to throw something, put a price on it, and people just expect it to buy it. No, ma'am, no, sir. It does not work that way. All right. For example, let's say that you want to write a book about how to tie shoes. Okay. You've done research, you've done psychology, you've met with counselors and parents and teachers, and you've written a 50-page book on how to tie shoes, and you want to charge $35. Is that a good book idea? Not in the way that you are presenting it. That's not marketable. Okay, that's not marketable. I don't know who will buy that book, but I know I certainly wouldn't, and I have 3 kids. Right? Is that a good book idea? Right? Can that be a blog? Can that be a short story that is 10 pages? Right? Um, and then sometimes you can have a book idea and just do not translate it well into the marketplace. Right? You may say, you know what, this, tying a shoe is so easy, a monkey could do it. And so you put a monkey on the front, even though monkeys don't have shoes, right? Can that monkey translate to your audience? Well, who's your audience? Right? You need to see and determine how that book idea can be translated into the marketplace. It must be marketable. It has to have an audience. It has to be priced right. All right. It has to be the right product, right? Does the topic have enough legs to lend itself to a published book? All right. Some ideas do, some ideas don't. All right. So before you waste time or resources, validate your book idea. Now, if you are struggling to determine if it's a good book idea, or you don't know how, it's a good book idea, but you don't know how to translate that into the marketplace, there are people who are gifted at that. Okay. I'm pointing to myself. That just happens to be one of my gifts. All right. And I love doing it. All right. You should be able to tell anyone your book idea. Okay, maybe not anyone, but you should be able to articulate your book idea, and people should be able to determine if other people would want to read this book, right? And an easy way to do that is by going to Amazon, going to bookstores, going to Walmart, going to Target, going to those places where books are sold, and seeing if there are other books in that genre, in that category, on that subject matter. How many Google searches will pull up on a topic of your book? These are all ways you can validate your book idea. All right. So there are 2 other things, major components to determine if you have a good book idea. The first one I've addressed is marketability. If this was helpful to you and you want to hear more, comment with a hands up, me, thumbs up, so I can keep going and share with you the other 2 things that you need to know to determine if you have a good book idea. Athena Shack here. I know this was helpful. Let me know in the comments.